if we talk about the digital and online presence of the oil and gas companies, they have been a bit apprehensive about this in the past. The approach has been very conventional and traditional. But if we talk about online presence and branding today, what do you think about it, and how do you think it is going to change the game for them?
The energy sector needs to be a lot more proactive. And I think they've got to realize, and many of them do, and it's a great dinner party conversation starter whereby you're going to have people go, absolutely no way. The energy sector can't be the most important. And they'll cite banking and health and everything else, to which I say, you turn the lights off and it all stops. The fun stops, when the lights go off. The disco does not continue. So we look at every industry around the world, and every industry is very much dependent on the energy sector. And I think we have to look at it in a more holistic way. It has to be about the energy sector. And in many countries, there are different stages as well. But the energy industry has to communicate better. It unfortunately has had to communicate when things go wrong. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I know, having been in the media, a lot of the coverage, has not always been the most flattering. And many of the CEOs have been challenged in terms of what's going on and how they communicated messages, all of that. And there's just a history that we can all look back on. And it's very clear to see that this has not been a proactive industry in terms of communication. It's been tough. And even as a journalist, it's been tough to move forward with that. We're getting better. We're getting a lot better. And I think we're seeing new leaders come into the industry, and they all realize that communicating a strong message and being very much part of the community where they live, where they work, and also the jobs that they provide. They want to be part of the solution, and they're making that very clear. And their governance level, I think, has, if we go back, even 50 years, even 20 years, mm-hmm. It's at the very forefront. The health and safety, all of this is an entirely different message that's coming on a day-to-day basis, and that will come across in the media, because they're shifting. They know they're shifting. They look at the annual reports coming out of the International Energy Agency. We look at the reports that OPEC is delivering. We look at BP. We look at all of the big companies that are doing that, and they know that things are changing and that they have to adapt and they have to change. It's still slow, I think, in terms of the strength of that message, but it's changing, and it's changing for the better, and there's a lot more transparency, and there's a lot more openness, and we're beginning to see a new message emerge. But it's definitely something I think that we need to see more of. Mm-hmm. The new recently appointed CEO of BP, mm-hmm. Bernard Looney, who's there, has, he's delivering a very different message, and it comes, I think, at a good time for the company. There's a new CEO on board. The entire board has really embraced what's going on in the industry, and they're sending a much different message in terms of the importance of the industry, making sure people hear more about it. Also, what they can do in terms of climate change is widening, and the conversation is beginning to be more inclusive. And all of this is a good sign, but they have to speed it up, and they have to claim that space. I always talk about own the space. The oil industry, the gas industry, the energy industry needs to own its space as one of the key influencers, so to speak. I mean, it is the industry that keeps us all alive, and it keeps the lights turned on. And I think sometimes people don't quite understand that. So it's part and parcel of making sure that message is delivered with a lot more passion and commitment.